Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's podcast, Taking Care of Business today with Cal Jungwirth, who is Director of Permanent Placement Services with Robert Half. Thanks for joining us today, Cal.
Thanks for having me back, Mario.
Well, you folks recently had some data out indicating that more than 4 in 10 professionals in Canada are looking for a new job these days. Uh, why is that?
Well, number one, I think it just speaks to hopefully a little bit of optimism out there. Sometimes when we feel or read about the economy, it can have some negative overtones, and I think we've definitely heard a lot of that lately. But we did the same survey about 6 months ago, and the number was a little bit lower, closer to 3 in 10. So I think what we see is number one, it's that optimism, and then number two, it's just simply that time of year. The beginning of the year, people tend to refocus and get refreshed, and part of that is definitely what they want to do and be professionally. So that's why I think we're seeing that number as high as it is, even though from an employer's perspective, that's probably a scary sounding number.
Yeah. So let me ask you that, like you mentioned, people are maybe a little more confident with things. Is that typically the case in a labor market that people will tend to move when they have some certainty that, the market, the economy is doing okay, that there's no risk out there to move?
Yeah, absolutely. If you would think if it was a market that with high unemployment, obviously people are a little bit more nervous, and people tend to kind of put their roots in where they are for fear of if there ever were layoffs, kind of first in, first out type of mentality. So when we're in a market like we are right now with relatively low unemployment still, historically speaking, people and talent are in demand. Individuals feel a little bit more confident of exploring their options and maybe making that or taking that chance and changing employers and seeing how that works out.
Okay. What are the main motivators for people looking for a new job?
Well, this probably won't surprise you, Mario, but compensation is at the top of the list again. Yeah. And about half of the individuals that responded did indicate that compensation is key for them. And again, that shouldn't be any surprise to us. If we look at the last couple of years with inflation doing what it's done, the cost of living, compensation is obviously as important as it has ever been. So that's driving it. And then as well, it's some of the old standbys. There's individuals looking for personal growth and advancement in their career. The other thing that's, yeah, I would say, relatively new the last 3 or 4 years, again, a post-pandemic situation is just increased flexibility. Individuals want a little bit more flexibility in where and how they work. It doesn't mean that everybody's looking for a remote job, but a
Yeah.
lot of individuals that come to us are definitely looking for more flexibility in different types of hybrid setups. And that's definitely a very common theme of what we hear.
So what, actually, one of the other things I was thinking about, what about the area of benefits and stuff? Is that a motivating factor for people that, when it comes to sort of like the health stuff?
Yeah, I think it's maybe it depends on what generation you're part of. We tend to see that some of the older individuals in the workforce, the benefits and some of those supports mean a lot more
Yeah.
versus the individuals that are a little bit earlier in their career, in their early 20s, benefits and things like RSP matching. That's not quite as tangible to them at that point in time. So we definitely see, as you move throughout your career, that kind of moves up higher in the list.
Okay, super then. And what makes people want to stay in certain jobs?
I'm going to be redundant, but it's a lot of the things that I just mentioned that they're
Yeah.
looking for, right? If they've got good flexibility and they're respected by their employer, a lot of individuals truly recognize that. And that comes up at the top of the list a lot. And again, if they're doing engaging, fulfilling work, that's going to keep them where they're at. And then finally, of course, if they feel like they're fairly compensated for the work that they're currently doing,
Yeah.
they might just put their head down and stay where they are, which is a great thing for the employer because they're obviously doing something really well.
Yeah. So tell me, Cal, when you're looking at the current situation and movement and all that, Where's the labor market today? Are we still dealing with issues of shortages out there? And if so, I guess it becomes even more important for employers to hit the key marks of what people want in jobs, right?
Absolutely. Even though we recognize that the economy, I think, has definitely cooled in different parts of the country over the last 6 to 12 months, we are still in a situation that we call it very tight in terms of talent. The unemployment number is relatively low, and we hear regularly from organizations when they go to market looking for specific types of talent, i.e., the best talent. That talent is really tough to find. So, yeah, it's definitely still like it's more balanced than it was a couple of years ago, but I'd say individuals who are maybe looking for a bit of a change,
Yeah.
we're still very well positioned.
Okay. The last thing I wanted to ask you, Cal, is in terms of the movement and changing of jobs, is it traditionally more the younger employer and sorry, employee that will tend to move as opposed to someone who's got a number of years of experience in a company?
Yeah, well, definitely that's what we're seeing right now. The millennials, Gen Z, a couple of our younger generations, they're definitely a lot more active in the marketplace. The numbers show that they're as much as about 50% more active in job search or immediate job search plans than some of the older generations. And again, I think that just speaks to individuals and young professionals still trying to find their whether it's their forever home or their the right path. And I think we could all probably reflect back when we were a little bit younger. That's a little bit of an exploratory process, and then hopefully we all get a little bit more settled. So yeah, we definitely see that.
All right, wonderful. Thanks, Cal, for joining us today.
Thanks for again for having me, Mario.
All right, that was Cal Jungwirth, who is Director of Permanent Placement Services with Robert Half. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, Managing Editor of Canada's Podcast, taking care of business today. Thanks for joining us.